We just heard from two people. Those are two stories out of thousands and thousands that could be told. And throughout the day, I think it's important that we remember the people behind the stories, the people who really represent the future of partnerships between the U.S. and Africa in all its diversity.
So let me introduce you to my good friends, Joy Dungutsi and Janet Ikubana, who, in the aftermath of the genocide in Rwanda, used traditional basket weaving to financially empower women across the Rwandan countryside and restore dignity to families around the country. Amadou Galloufal from Senegal turned a love of basketball into a college education in the United States. Today, he mentors other players and promotes the sport throughout Africa.
Funake Opeke is a pioneering woman in information and communications technology from Nigeria, whose company is connecting West Africa to the world through thousands of miles of broadband cable. And Jeff Immelt is the CEO of GE, a company that has a long history in Africa. He is working not only to power the continent's growth, but to also improve the quality of people's lives. And today, we'll be thinking about these individuals and many more. And throughout the day, on stage, in videos, and in interviews, we'll hear more about them and from them. We also want to hear from each of you. Everyone who is here today will have a chance to make their voices heard.
To explain how that will work, it is my pleasure to introduce our MC for the day. Born and raised in Kenya, she is not only a journalist and a longtime CNN correspondent, but an entrepreneur who has just launched Akoma Media, a new African-focused content and storytelling platform. Please welcome Zain Verjee.
Off to the left.
Thank you so much, and good morning to you. This is going to be an interesting and interactive session. Let me explain. Each of you has a keypad. If you could take a moment now and just pick this up. Take a close look at it. You're going to be using it a lot today. This is basically our voting system. Every button on this response card has a number and it has a letter. Today, we're only going to be using the letters. Throughout the day, we're going to be asking you a series of questions, and you'll be given a few answers to choose from. We'll be able to see the results instantaneously, and what the polls will do is that they'll really give us a sense of the opinion in the room and whether or not it shifted at all during the course of the day. Just so you know, your answers will be completely anonymous, well, mostly anonymous. Please use the same device all day, and that's important because that way we can see how a single person has answered all the questions across the day. So let's get started and do two opening questions. We'll make this one very easy. Let's start with this one. Here we go. What sector do you represent? A, the private sector and business community, or B, the government? Please make your choice. Your time starts now. We'll give you 15 seconds, and you'll see a clock on the left-hand side here counting down. Just press the button of the answer that you want. Now, if you press the wrong one, don't worry about it. You can just press again, and that will record what your final answer is. Okay, let's see. What is the answer? A, 65% of people in the room come from the private sector and the business community, and 35% are represented in the category of government. Okay, let's take a look at the next question. Are you representing the United States or Africa today? A, an African nation, B, the United States. Your time starts now. Please make your choice. This is not a trick question. You have 15 seconds. You can see the clock counting down. So, are you representing the US or Africa today? Great, you all got that quickly. You've got the hang of it. Let's take a look at the response here. 66% of people in this room, an African nation. 34% the United States. All right, now that you're warmed up, let's move on to another question. It's slightly more difficult, but you'll be familiar with many of the topics here. Here's the question. Each of the following are important factors for accelerating economic growth on the continent. But what do you think is the most important factor for accelerating economic growth? Is it A, infrastructure investments, B, regional integration, C, access to mobile and web technologies, D, workforce and skills training, or would you go for E, economic diversification? So please make your selections now, and just be aware that we recognize that all these areas are critical and important for economic growth, but what we want to do right now is to have you identify one. What do you think is the most important for accelerating economic growth? Great. Let's take a look at the results. Okay. That's interesting. 60% of people in this room have identified A, infrastructure investments, as being the most important factor to drive economic growth. Workforce and skills training has come in at 17%, 11% economic diversification, 7% regional integration, 5% access to mobile and web technologies. Is anyone surprised by that? We'll have a discussion about all of these topics across the day. And just be aware that what we're going to do at the end of the day, we're going to ask the same question, and we're going to see if anyone's opinions have shifted or changed through the conversations and the insights that we're going to hear today. So thank you so much. I'll be back a little bit later in the day and do some more polling. Thank you.